You're listening to the We Are Libertarians podcast network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com.
Hey, Fidelity. What's it cost to invest with the Fidelity app?
Start with as little as $1 with no account fees or trade commissions on U.S. stocks and ETFs.
That's music to my ears.
I can only talk.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Zero account fees apply to retail brokerage accounts only. Sell order assessment fee not included. A limited number of ETFs are subject to a transaction-based service fee of $100. See full list at fidelity.com/commissions. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
You know what's smart? Enjoying a fresh gourmet meal at home that you didn't have to cook. Meet Factor, your loophole in the laws of mealtime. Chef-crafted meals delivered with a tap, ready in just 2 minutes. You know what's even smarter? Treating yourself without cheating your goals. Factor is dietitian approved, chef prepared, and you plated. Pretty smart, huh? Refresh your routine and eat smart with Factor. Learn more at factormeals.com.
I actually really wasn't ready, when he said get ready, because I didn't have my screen, the other screen up. I just noticed that, but that's okay. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Chris Spangle Show. I'll be your host today. My name is Harry Price. So many of you guys know me as the other guy that's on the show that says inappropriate jokes at inappropriate time, and they only get called on to when they need something weird about. Well, today we're going to talk about something weird about one of my favorite subjects. It's called right to repair. Now, with me, I have brought a great panel of people here to discuss and bring up and talk about this interesting and awesome subject. And, with me, as always, especially the Saturdays that I get to control, I like to bring on my buddy Rhinehold. Rhinehold, want to go introduce yourself?
Good morning. I'm glad to be here, even though Chris is not. He's decided that he's, got better things to do and everything. So, yeah, we got a good topic to discuss this morning, and I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah. We wish him the best to get over his sickness. He's going to make it through. We give him all the he's getting the top tier medical care that Wall can afford. So a get well card and
rest in peace.
We bought you one package of pudding.
And you jumped the line, and also with us here, coming back from the third string off the bench, we got Vincent Cooper. We got say hi.
Hello.
Yeah. So I'm bringing him on because all right. So the topic at hand, right? The major topic that what I bring about is the whole right to repair thing. The main reason I wanted to bring this up and talk about this subject is because it has been in the news a whole bunch. One, because of the pandemic, and it's something that's been going on also in Massachusetts this week, and it's also been brewing for the last 2 years. And it is a subject that if you're in certain spaces that about this thing, and it's always when the bill gets introduced or anything when we talk about it, it's a lot of people just dismiss it, one, because of its name, or they just don't understand, what do you mean right to repair? And I think even when I brought it up into the Slack chat, I think Spangle's response was, repair what? And I was sitting at a light, watching the train go by, angry, yelling in my car, going, what are you talking about? Why could you do this? And I'm sure all these people in my little small town just kept going man, that black man is angry, banging on the steering wheel. Couldn't think of what to type in my phone. Luckily Rhinehold responded back with something. I was just oh man, I'm so angry.
I had done the same thing when you brought it up to me in a chat earlier and said, hey, I'm gonna do a right to repair, and I'm like, repair what? And I was like, repair. I'm slow. I was like, it was within 30 seconds that I was able to go, that's what he's talking about. That's right. So, but because you had just said something in the chat to me last time we talked, so it was the next thing on the list up about working on something on the cars. What we were talking about working on my car.
Yeah.
Because coil springs are out and I have to replace them and everything else. And so that was the last thing we had in the chat. Then you said something, I want to talk about right to repair it. I'm like, repair my car? What are you talking about? Repair my car? That's no problem. And then I was like, oh, yeah.
I think we that's a bill of another show, like the right to repair, like the car that is left in someone's barn or yard that's just sitting there waiting for someone to fix on.
So I'm expecting during the show we're going to talk about repairing my car at the end, right? So that's what I was ready for.
Yeah, you definitely can. Yeah, we definitely can. And then
jack that up.
Yeah, and then on Friday night, when we had our walnut meeting sitting there at Triton Brewery, I was sitting there talking with Vincent Cooper, and he was just like, "Oh yeah," and he just started rambling off, and that's why I decided to bring him on, because like, cool, someone else who actually knows what the heck I'm talking about.
Right.
Yep. And I want to talk about what right to repair is. Yeah, and I'm bearing the lead of talking about like they're trying to explain what it is. But I will but the minute I want to bring it up, have a discussion about it, because as a someone with like who's an anarchist, who was liberty minded, I also have an issue with it, because like what we're doing with it, and that's the type of discussion with it, because when I tell people like kind of for this legislation, they just kind of look at me like, Harry, this is really what you want? Like, but you have to understand. Let me like this is a ugly box to discuss. But all right. Before I bury the lead too much, let's discuss what the heck right to repair is and why this.
Remember, we need to explain it as if we're explaining it to Chris, right? Because he's going to be editing this, so we want to make sure that he gets it. So let's like he's a 5-year-old. Let's go do that explanation.
Okay. All right. So right to repair is basically, at the addition of the thing is, I think Louis Rossmann of the Rossmann Group has a good 10-minute video on explaining it is, and I'm going to borrow some from his analogy, because it is one of the best, simplest analogy I've seen on the internet. It's basically this, because everyone has been in the situation, well, at least if you've owned a car, that you buy a car and it's out of warranty and something breaks on your car. You drive it to the dealership, and the dealership said, fine, switch out this transmission. It's going to be $6,000, right? And you're just like, well, and then you take it to your independent, repair shop. Just take it to a regular like transmission shop, and then you're like, oh, we can switch it out with a used one or rebuild it. It'd be around like $3,000. Wow, you save 50% just going to something else. Right to repair, saying that you have the ability to do that. And what's going on, where we're noticing, is a lot of companies are trying to prevent you from doing that you have to go through them to repair. So it's not like you really own your device. You're basically just leasing it because you don't really own anything. And you like it, but we don't like it. We want to be able to own our things. Speaking of Louis Rossmann, like he has the famous video on where he was showing people how to take apart like what was wrong. Like famous one is the Apple MacBook on a fuse on the trackpad, where if you spilled like water on it, you could, this is how you take it apart. This is how you get to the fuse, and this is how you fix it. Well, Apple lawyers sent him a cease and desist, like, no, they take this down. This is intellectual property. This is our thing. Take it down. But all he did was open up his MacBook, open a MacBook, showed people the board that they already wrote, because if you own a MacBook Air, you have the board, you have the copy of the board. You may not and if you chose to sit down for a day and open up Visio and draw it out like how the schematics are, you didn't like, you reverse engineer the schematics and taking trade secrets. Like, they gave you the device. So either you own this piece of device or you don't. Now, this is how a lot of like tech people get into this, right? I gotta put it like, a lot of people also like to see this whole right to repair thing, which I think the first time I really heard the rumblings of this, I don't know if anyone remembers back in the John Deere like lawsuits, what is it, like close to 6, 7, 8 years ago, when people were buying some of the newer John Deere tractors, and John Deere was locking them out to be able to repair. In order to get your John Deere, like, sensors would break or sensors would go down. It's a $3 sensor to replace and put it out, but you needed the John Deere software to open it up to tell it, like, yes, you have a new sensor reset. Now, most people in their cars understand this when they go to reset their, they change their oil. They change their own oil in the driveway, and the sensor still pops up like, hey, you need to change your oil. Like, I just did that. You have to have the special code reader, or sometimes have to hit the special code to tell it to, yes, the oil has been flushed. The differential has been flushed. If not, the code, the warning keeps popping up, or just stops the car from running. And that's what a lot of farmers were running into, is that the simple fact that they were they were stuck. They were like paused, like in the field. It's harvest time. They got a small window of time, where this tractor has to be on the field to harvest this grain because the moisture is correct. We have to get the seeds. We have to start combining, and I can't go because this is down. I have to take it to the John Deere dealership. Well, when is that? Well, it'll be 7 days because everyone else is sitting there. It's like, well, cool. I'll just call an independent guy. You can't. You're just stuck. You're stuck. There's $1 million worth of grain there, and you're stuck with your $3 million combine, and it can't move. Yeah, sorry, I just got a little ranty there.
But the question is it really their $3 million combine? Because what are you signing when you purchase these products? Like, let's say you buy, I'm going to go buy an Apple product, and you sign a terms of service when you buy that. You sign a contract. And in that contract, they're open and honest saying, you don't own this. You can't do this. You can't do this. And you agree to this. Now, nobody reads those because that's the way human nature is. And that's the reason why my concern about all of this is much deeper than just whether or not you own your property or not. Because the reality is, in this country, nobody owns anything anyway. The government can come take it whenever they want to. Therefore, it's really they own it. But if we want to go down that path of we think that private ownership of property is important, right? Mm-hmm. We also need to make, I think it's also a determining factor inside of libertarianism that we make agreements with people. We have contracts with people, and that's how we interact with them, right? Full and mm-hmm. open disclosures. We agree to this terms. We go on with our lives. So they're doing their part of saying, this is the way we want this to operate. When you're buying it from us, you're not really fully buying it from us. Therefore, we have this still control left, and you're agreeing to this when you purchase it. Mm-hmm. Now, if nobody's going to read that and everybody's just going to expect that they can do whatever they want, how does that translate into other areas of our lives where we try to operate with each other in those kinds of agreement methods, right? So we agree to this, you agree to that. But if nobody's reading those terms of service and everybody's just assuming things going on, then we're going to have chaos. So how do we stop that chaos? How do we find a way to make things a certain way? And does that come, and how do we enforce that, as it were? So that's just the thinking going on in my head as we move forward with the discussion. Mm-hmm. So I'll let you guys.
Yeah. You said it was going to be ugly, and you just like I'm going to make it uglier. All right.
I'm just going to throw a whole bunch of wasabi sauce and some jalapeno and a little bit of pineapple. We're going to make this a pickle pizza right now.
Disgusting.
All right, Vincent, how did you come to the learn about right to repair? How did you come to it?
More of the big thing for me is I end up having to look into a lot of it. When I was in college and I didn't have a lot of money for a cell phone, and I got a cell phone, it broke, and I tried to fix it, and it was not going very well. Because anybody I tried to get to fix it, they're like, "Oh, we can't do that." It's like, why not? It's like, "Oh, that phone in particular, we don't have anything to fix that." And it's like, but why? It's like, well, this phone was a specific type of phone that came out at this time, and you need a specific way to take the back off because it's super glued on there, and you have to heat gun it off, and you have to make sure you don't fry the circuits to get it off, and you just take it to the dealership, and it's like, but I got this from Best Buy, and they're like, whatever. So it's like, cool, now I just got to pay all this extra money to actually get this repaired instead of it being, hey, just take this off and fix this.
Yeah, because I think it was the era, that's one of the if you were into phones, especially Android phones and even Apple phones for a little bit, where unlocking phones or jailbreaking the phones was big. It'd be putting custom ROMs and everything else onto it to get the phones to do certain things. Granted, doing it on an Apple one, you do break your EULA when you do that. And when it comes to a lot of your Android phones, it's simple. It's good phone. I bought it with market company B, and I wanted to unlock it so I could bring in companies see, and the companies were trying to prevent you from even doing that with the, you didn't need anything from them. You just needed the ability to do that. And that was a huge, massive court case that did eventually rule in the favor of the consumer. They're like, yes, it's your device. If you wanted to sit there, take the ROM on it and change it, you had full ability to do that. I see like what Rhinehold was talking about the EULA, because like, yeah, a lot of people do agree to it, but they don't always read it. It's the reason why in a lot of corporate worlds where they tell you like, hey, you just can't get software on your own. It's because legal and your IT department reads those EULAs to find out if they can actually use that software or they're using it correctly, and to make sure that if we invent something using said software, we don't owe the company that we used using your software that money because we use this thing to help invent you. We don't owe you anything. Which some people like, that doesn't happen. It's like, it does. There's a lot of times that people have developed things and realize like, cool, this thing works, let's sell it. Like, well, we really can't sell it. Why? Because this thing that we used to build this thing, or this piece of code that's in there, yeah, that's got a GNU license on it. So we got to keep it open. Like, well, son of a crap,
And the other thing too, I want to bring up is that we're looking at this from a consumer point of view, but understand the reason why some companies are doing this is because they're trying to build reputations. Like Apple's trying to build a reputation that their devices are great and their devices work solid. And they're, and if you have an issue and you try to fix it yourself, you make it worse. And then you're going around telling everybody, oh, this Apple product is horrible. It sucks. You shouldn't buy it. So it's a way for them to try to manage the experience for the users who are using their products and services. And if it wasn't tied, there's so many things now that are tied into some of these devices where it's not just the device, it's the service that you get with it that's important. And so to manage that experience, and you see that with you're seeing that now a lot with the operating system people, Microsoft and Apple, and they're trying to manage that experience. So they're trying, so like Microsoft saying you have to update your OS every so often so you don't get hit with viruses every other week, and then complain to us that you're getting viruses, even though we've given you the fix to do it. You're not taking care of it and doing it yourself. So that's the thinking behind a lot of the business moves to do this. And there's also, I'm sure, various companies are doing it for more nefarious reasons to control and jack up the price on repair of the device, right? That's the other aspect.
On top of that, there's something we'll definitely get into is with the fact that a lot of those companies do that. There's this sense of planned obsolescence where they purposely make a device that's going to break or isn't going to be able to be used in the future without you being able to go to them and repair and pay extra to repair it. Even Apple has even admitted that they slowed down their older phones because they want you to buy a new phone.
They're trying to go to the guys like, well, since it's an older phone, we're trying to save your batteries from exploding. So we're going to bring it down to 80 to 60% of its original charge.
Right. And if I can just buy a new battery and replace it, then why would they need to slow down my phone at that?
Yeah. And I see what Rhinehold is saying, like that they're trying to build that type of thing. But then you also get like a lot of pushback in the environment. Like a lot of people think I hate EVs, electric vehicles. No. I like them. What I dislike is that same phone mentality from the software being done to a car. I don't want my car locked down because of a piece of software. I really like cars that are like mechanically like sound, and this is what this thing works on because the mechanical nature of your car. This is how this thing works. But if there's a piece of software that controls it, that software, that firmware, that chip goes down, and that prevents me from using my car, and I have to get it fixed from the dealership or have to spend $10,000, it really angers me, or they don't give me the tools to fix this. And this is where a lot of my Tesla hate comes from. I hate Tesla cars because for the longest time, they prevented people, and still do prevent people, to repairing and fixing their own Teslas. It was only from pushback when people realize that, hey, you're getting ready to be like over to the 10-year company, and a lot of these Teslas are going to start hitting in junk yards because people can't get them fixed. I think the last one that's got famous here recently is Hoovie's Garage. Hoovie's bought a Tesla. He bought one used. It wasn't a hoopty. Hoovie's Garage is famous on buying hoopties. This one was not a hoopty. Rhinehold, do you want to define a hoopty for the people?
I don't know how that'll explain it. I think it's just more of a really junky old car that you can just slap together with bits and pieces, and it's no longer any real model. It's kind of like that old Johnny Cash song, one piece at a time.
One
That's
piece
kind of what a hoopty is. Yeah.
It looks like you put it together with bubble gum and hope.
So it's a 69, 70, 71, 72.
Which would play that song, but we just shut down everywhere for copyright reasons. Probably gonna,
we might already got hit just by saying that.
I know saying that line is probably already down, but and it's all right. So he's famous for buying these hoopty cars, but this one, this one isn't. And he went to the dealership and they quoted him thousands of dollars and it said he needed a full battery replacement because he went to go get a charge and it dropped down to 50-mile range. And everyone knows if you have a car with a 50-mile range and needs a full charge to get 50 miles each time, well, that EV's worthless to you. It's at you might as well, if I only get 50 miles, it's like, okay, so the store. Barely the store. If your store is closed and back, don't turn your air conditioning on. Don't turn the heat seater on. Don't turn don't turn anything on. Drive the speed limit, please.
Forbid you're in traffic in downtown of a city too.
Right. And if you get people in electric vehicles, you have to be able to open up the used market so people can buy used cars. And that doesn't, because you can see, I want one of the BMW, I love the BMW i8s and the i4s. I freaking love them. But it concerns me when I watch them. They're almost brand new. They're down to $14,000 right now. And the price tag to fix the battery is $10,000. It's just like, ooh, so it's not really a $14,000 car if something happens to the battery. So it's like, because I'm not going to buy a brand new EV. That ain't happening, But this is where my Tesla hate come from, because Tesla blocked people from opening it up. Now, because of Massachusetts decided in 2015 to pass a bill for it's a right to repair automobile. So basically stating that if you want to sell cars or sell motor vehicles in the state of Massachusetts, you have to allow these tools and schematics to be available. This was brought to a lot of people's attention by the famous YouTuber Rich Rebuilds, which if you aren't watching Rich Rebuilds and you like Tesla content, you're not getting the truth of Tesla. He promotes a lot of he loves Tesla. He loves it to death, but he will tell you directly what's wrong with it, what's bad with it. He's the guy who's famously rebuilt a Tesla called Dolores in his garage, basically using basic hand tools. Well, this is too dangerous. Dude, he did it in his garage. It's just you have to, yes, it's electricity. You have to know what you're freaking doing. You can't just make sure you pull this so you don't die. Make sure you do this. Make sure this is this. Just, it has to be discharged, right? And he did all this work putting things together and having to get hack software to get inside of it just so the computer can tell that, yep, this thing is correct. Or having to he's like, I had to pay $1,000 to take it to Tesla to get them to turn on. Cool. Let me use my car. But they prevent a lot of that stuff from happening because they want to preserve the Tesla experience. It's we don't want someone to put a flooded Tesla back on the road. But it's this thing hasn't been flooded, barely gotten wrecked, but it's just a lot of shops don't work on it. So a lot of the times, a lot of these Teslas get hit with salvage titles, but there's barely anything wrong with it, just because the insurance company can't really find a good shop to fix it for the price of the car, because it's hard for them to get parts. Because Teslas are still brand new, it is difficult to get their parts because they make all their stuff in-house. It's the main reason why you see Tesla starting to work with Ford and other companies, because they, as they're becoming an aging company, they're realizing how hard it is to keep producing parts, especially and keeping older models still on the road. This
isn't new either. I mean, Ford and Chevy and all those companies when they made their cars, they're making all the parts on the car, and it was an aftermarket environment that cropped up to repair that stuff, so that they didn't have complete control to say, okay, you need a new brake caliper. It's going to be $2,000, right? So if somebody can put that brake caliper and put it out for you to buy at O'Reilly's or at AutoZone or something for a fraction of that cost, right? They didn't want that to happen. I mean, the car companies didn't want that. They wanted their products in there, because then you've got guaranteed and original products, and you've got all this whole fight in the whole automobile system environment because of that. But it was something that was determined a long time ago that you had the right to do. You had the right to repair your own vehicle because you bought it. So they didn't think about this whole terms of service and EULA thing back in the day. If they had done that, we'd be talking about this 80 years ago.
Right. Yeah. And but that's also like the other thing is like the culture of America has also changed. Like we used to be like a huge, and this is not even like, I'm going to describe like how it was. And this is actually not even the boomers' fault. I blame Gen X. This is Gen Xers' fault. This repair it's your fault. You guys killed Radio Shack.
No. We loved Radio Shack. I was Gen X. I grew up. I lived there. Trust me. I didn't kill Radio Shack. Radio Shack killed Radio Shack. And they stopped selling the radio parts where you could just go in and buy your own stuff and the transistors and all that stuff. That was them.
Man, I used to miss going to Radio Shack. Anyway, sorry, I'm not going to reminisce about going into Radio Shack. Not sponsored because the dead company, basically. Barely dead. I will take their money, but they're dead.
Anyway.
Anyways, the culture of like repair, it's a big thing. It's a big thing in America just for like people to repair things and fix things. You know, like people were proud, like, hey, I've got a 20-year-old car, still fixing it up, just like your house. Like your house is 100 years old. People were fixing and building things, and even like old electronics, like older appliances, they would have schematics on the side of inside a lot of the older appliances on how to fix it, you know, and where to get and how to get parts. Some of them even service parts, like, hey, this washer goes out, it's this belt, this motor, you can get it and call this thing to get new parts. Or a lot of the parts are just general like parts, like this is just a regular stator. Just go to Radio Shack, get a stator motor, come back, get this thing up and running. Or like I think I just did the one with like the stupid closed door sensor on my washing machine. I had to go fix that again. I couldn't fix it the way I'm used to fixing it by just putting just a toggle switch, because he got a kid. I wanted to make sure the safety switch was still on there. But I honestly was just going to go get a light switch and just click, 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 and just use the switch there, because that's all the safety switch was for. But it's just to make sure the lid's closed. That's what the safety switch is for. But like these schematics were in the thing. So like the culture like of in America, people would get something, hold on to it, fix it, and keep moving. And then people also had those like jobs of where they would also fix things instead of just like, oh, this thing's broken, get a new one, dispose, throw it away, get a new one.
That's the thing, is that the company started making products that were disposable. I mean, you bought an appliance and then you could get it fixed relatively cheaply. That was one thing, but now there's so much stuff inside of there. It's like with the cars, you've got all this computer stuff running things inside there, and it's difficult to do, and the parts are expensive. It's almost cheaper to just say, just get rid of it and go buy a new one, because by the time you spend the money to fix it and you pay a guy to do it and et cetera, you're running into over half of what the thing cost to begin with. You do that twice and you could have just bought a new one and gotten rid of it and had a warranty. Now you don't, with this, you don't have a warranty. So it used to be the mindset that we would fix it ourselves. And then repairmen were, a thing where they would specialize and fix certain things. And then it became that there was just too many things anymore to worry about. And then the product started getting made in a way that's almost designed to fail in a certain way. So when things start failing on a product, it's not the idea I can fix that product and the thing will last another 10 years. It's like, oh, that's gone. This other stuff's probably about to fall apart too, because of the way it's designed. Therefore, this thing's about to end of life, even though it may only be 5-6 years you've had that product.
Right.
Go ahead.
That goes into like the planned obsolescence stuff of when you create a product that is not meant to last, that you're making it in a way that's going to degrade over time. That way you don't get a chance to repair it, because it's meant to fall apart at some point. So you have to buy a new one, because, well, if we purposely make it disposable and you have to get a new one later anyway, then we don't have to try as hard to make it more sturdy or durable or usable for a long period of time.
And if society was wanting products to be more sturdy and last longer, it would happen. It's happened with cars. Cars used to last. You get to 100,000 miles on a car and you just go junk it because it's not going to work. Now they're doing warranties, drivetrain warranties for over 100,000 miles on these vehicles. They're lasting 500,000-600,000 miles. That was because consumers demanded it, right? They started buying the cars that were given a better deal. Like our drivetrain is a 40,000 mile warranty when everybody else is doing 20. Well, everybody started buying that car because they wanted that car to last longer, because they wanted that product to be non-planned obsolescence. We just need to do that for everything else. When you've got the way the market works now, like with phones, you just get a new phone every 2 years.
Yeah.
And you're not you're not in the mindset of I'm buying this phone. You're paying a monthly fee to pay for the phone, and then at the end of 2 years you get a new one, but you're still paying that fee. You're renting that phone. You're not buying it if that's the mindset you're going into with it.
It honestly comes more down to cultural mindset at this point, is that because a lot of our culture now is all disposable. There's a lot of things that in general, so like a lot of the media is very disposable media, that it's just quick, get your fill and get out. Nothing that's really, a lot of the things aren't really meant to have lasting impact a lot of the times as of right now, especially with like Instagram and all the stuff that's like, and like Twitter and like fast viewing things, that our culture became a more disposable culture because we want instant gratification but want to move on.
It could be some of that. I think a lot of people also are afraid of repairs. I think a lot of times when I'm trying to help people out to go get a newer car for themselves, well, they're afraid of some cars. They're like, well, that car's over 100,000 miles, or I want to buy a brand new or newer car. This way I don't have to worry about repairs. So like, you have to worry about repairs anyways. And the most expensive things to break on a car is just the engine and transmission, right? Everything else, like it's very inexpensive if you fix it when it starts going bad and don't wait till the last minute. Most of my cars are over 100,000 miles, and 3 of them are over 150,000 miles. Only got one under 150,000, and that's the rotary. Sorry, I don't drive it as much. At 8 miles to the gallon, especially in the Biden election. But like I got a Subaru with over 200,000 miles on it, right? And I almost got a second one, almost to 200,000. It's gonna be awesome, And it's just like, and there's like little parts that break on it, but like if you know what the reason why I stick with Subarus is because like the designs of them, the exterior always changes, but the interiors, the things that actually make the Subarus go, they stay the same. They're like, it's just basic underneath it. I can sit there with basic hand tools and fix it. Just same way with Toyota's cars. I feel like Toyota wants to see a 20-year hybrid on the road. I really feel Toyota, when they built the Prius, has designed it to be there in 20 years. Now, granted, like not northern one, maybe a southern one. Because the northern one's going to get rusted. It's just going to happen. They're going to be rust buckets. But like there's probably a Toyota Prius that's going to be on the road that's going to roll around on its 20th anniversary and just like sit there and drive around. And the reason how Toyota did it, because it had a bulletproof motor inside of it, and the ability that the hybrid battery in it is designed to be replaced, easy to get to, easy to be replaced, and easy to be replaced with aftermarket. That if you don't want to get a battery from Toyota does not care that you went somewhere else to get that battery for that hybrid motor. They don't care. And they designed it such. The other like Tesla's like I get it. I understand why putting the battery underneath the car. It makes freaking sense because how heavy the batteries are, but it makes it very difficult to get to. It's very expensive. But shops are popping up or making it in designing tools so they get to the batteries easier. Okay. That is happening, right? The market has spoken that people are going to get to these cars, but what they need is the sensors, because a lot of the time the manufacturers put sensors in it. So when sensors that you have disconnected or got into that system, it basically they destroy themselves. There are sensors inside of Apple products that once you've hooked something up to it, it has firmware in a fuse, so it just self detonates, erases itself. Like nope. I have sensed that you have tried to get to this chip. Self-erase. All right. I'll just get another chip put in there. Nope. I've got firmware to know this serial number doesn't match up from that serial number from the factory. I'm not going to work. And that's the most frustrating thing. And that's where a lot of people get with the right repair. They're like, I'm not even asking you for anything. I just want to be able to take a part from another part like that. And it just won't work. And it's frustrating and annoying. And people's like, well, just buy another laptop. Let's have some empathy for this person. Let's say this person didn't have like their family photos on this laptop, right? And they never backed up their information, right? Should you? Yes, you should. 3, 2, 1 backups. You should have three different locations, 2 different mediums, and 1 off-site. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Do your backups. Okay, I'm not gonna take the camera because like a NOS box over here, and I got my NOS box at my mom's house. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, it's really easy. It's really easy. Trust me. It's gonna hurt the first time you do it with your wallet, but once something dies, crashes, flood, you just gotta go, oh, meh, and move on about your day. But anyway, so this person that we're gonna have empathy about, it just lost family photos, and it was like, well, how bad is it? I don't know. The first steps of your child, the last photos with you and your mom are on that laptop, and you can't get to it because Apple deemed that that part died, so you can't get to it again. Here's a new, we're going to charge you 90% of the cost just to get the laptop back on, but you have lost your data. That's the sickening thing about it, because if that thing would just get this fuse or a chip, it power on, it would work. And that's where the people's frustration comes into it.
Right. And before we go any further, I just have to bring this up. Did you say NOS box?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of NAS?
NAS.
There's no O in it. There's not NOS.
NOS.
Take a commercial break. And have a little chat during the break. Maybe get the boxing gloves out.
Yeah, fine. Let me take a break. Let's take a break real quick. All right.
Girl, you have got to try this Laneige lip mask. Trust me, my lips needed that love.
Love these vanilla vibes from Kayali. That top note is just so smooth. Smooth and stunning. That's what you get with this K18 hair mask.
Those brands everybody's talking about, they're at Sephora. Discover the hype with the hottest names in beauty, including Laneige, Kayali, K18, and Rare Beauty. Click or tap the banner to discover the next big thing. Only at Sephora.
Let's pick this fight back up. Anyway, so NOS box. All right, let's define what NOS is. NOS, or network attached storage. Okay, what's wrong with that, Rhinehold? Got my NOS, my work sign, my sign box. You want to work? You want to play with my sign?
So we should talk about why it's been right to repair has been brought up so much in present time.
Okay, all right, that's fine. All right, do you want to? All right,
do you want me to, or do you want to?
Oh, you can do it. Yeah, I'll let you.
Okay. So because of the pandemic and everything that's happening with the pandemic, the right to repair came up a lot recently because the because the hospitals are having issues with their medical equipment not being able to repair them because they don't have the parts to repair them. So like the ventilators, especially with all the COVID, like they didn't have the things they needed to repair these ventilators to keep them back up and running to keep people alive. And the right to repair has come back into big focus because they couldn't fix them fast enough to keep people alive.
Yep. Because they had to get like certain parts from the manufacturer, and even got the part, even the firmware inside of that ventilator had to be put into the know that it's got the correct part and it has the approved part for it. And the reason why they were saying like they can't do this because there's like, well, these are trade secrets in some of this firmware, this schematics. And it's the idea of the pseudo idea, like we're projecting like trade secrets. Like your trade secrets are sitting in front of me. If I had a team of people, I could like easily scour the schematic thing, know exactly how this thing works. And your trade secrets are out there. If you're worried about a rival company knowing how your ventilator works, they simply just to buy one and bring it inside, and they will know exactly how your thing works. So like it's. A lot of companies do try to like prevent that, but what the bill was trying to do, which was what was like HR 7596, it was talking about how they were going to just null and void because of COVID. It was just introduced, wasn't done anything, but the idea that they were just going to basically, well, great, now good, thanks. But like it was just going to null and void the and their basically the rights to like their entire board. It was no rights, but like the intellectual property. Like, nope, we're going to null and void that because people are dying. Now this bill was introduced and it scared the pants out of them. So like the lobbyists they're going to pay millions of dollars to make sure like these right to repair bills don't go in place because some like, because I admit it, like, as you know, someone liberty minded, like, it's like you're going to use the ring of power to force these companies to do these things. It's like, okay, I hate that. I hate that aspect of it. But what I really hate is companies who also use the ring of power to prevent people from doing such things. Like, I'm going to make it so, like, I'm going to make sure the copyright laws are lobbied to a way that you cannot share this information that you put forward, which is freaking bullcrap, you know, and bully and use lawfare to bully people, and so they don't think they have the ability to launch schematics or things that they found. You know, there's a lot of people who have Chilton manuals and like manuals on how to rebuild cars. A lot of those did not come from the manufacturer. That is a company buying those cars, completely tearing them down and telling you how to build it back up. Okay. And there's nothing they can do about it, because like, I took the car, I took it apart. I used the schematics and what I've learned from taking a brand new car apart and putting it back together and launching a book on it. Yeah, everyone knows those Haynes manuals. I like cars, so I'm going to talk about cars, but get over it. But the Haynes manuals for the cars, But yes, yeah. So like you have people like in these medical fields, like that, like has the capability, the skills to put these medical equipment back together, but if you don't have the firmware to get to it, or be able to reverse engineer it to get everything to work on it, because that's just basically what right to repair is coming to. Is like I have the ability to. If I own the device, I have the ability to do what I want and what I want with this thing. If I wanted to hack it, I can hack it. If I wanted to do something to it, I should have the ability to do something with that piece. Now, Rhinehold does bring in that sticky thing, but like especially with Apple products, you sign the EULA on the device, like when you purchase this thing, and that's where like Macs get very sticky, because their certificate of authenticity of their operating system is the hardware itself. Like, yeah, if you wanted to know that, like, well, there's a lot of things do this, by the way. Like the thing itself is its own license, or is licensing. Your cell phone, your own cell phone is a license, is a FCC license to communicate on that transmission. Yep. That's part of buying a phone. You buy that when you buy the GSM antenna that's inside your phone. You just bought yourself an FCC license. Granted, it's not under your name; it's for the ID of the phone, but that's how it is. So it's part of that whole EULA package that you won't go ahead and do that. Now, Apple doesn't prevent you from taking your MacBook and, well, they try. They really do. They try to prevent you from taking your MacBook and loading a different operating system on it. People find their ways around it, but they're not going out. And so they go out of their way to prevent it, but they're not like taking people legal action. And that's the main thing that most people are worried about, is companies going out and taking legal action to stopping people from that. Or from Apple. I'm going to bully Apple. I'm going to bully Apple a lot because they're bullies. Now, that doesn't say Lenovo isn't a bully, HP isn't a bully, Motorola isn't a bully, and Samsung isn't a bully. Okay, all right. All those things, and Dell.
My only question is, why do you need a terabyte of storage space on a cell phone? That's just my question. I don't know why you need a terabyte of storage on a cell phone.
Because it's a combo device now. It's not even just a phone anymore, right? So and Apple did try to go after people for putting different software on their computers, but they got such backlash for it that they backed off, right? But that was something they tried to do. Yeah. So it's definitely something that the companies are trying to do a lot more control. And now, when I grew up, as we're going to go back into the back in my day portion of the show. Back in my day,
was it before I was born, or
probably. So I would tear apart old TVs that weren't working anymore and try and get them working again, just for fun. Like I was 11 years old, 12 years old, just fitzing around in the back of a big tube TV with all the capacitors that have to run those cathode ray tubes. I'm sitting there with screwdrivers, touching things together and having all kinds of fun. I actually got some TVs to work that way, but I would always take apart, like my first cassette player or my first 8-track player. I would take them apart, see how they worked, and then put them back together again. Right. And that was how I grew up learning how these things functioned. And I think that's an important skill to have for people to have, but nobody does that much anymore. And those who do end up running afoul of all these right to repair, because you can't take the stuff apart. You take stuff apart, you void the warranty, you do this, you do that to it, right? Yeah. Now, I will admit that every time I put something back together again, there was always a screw or a piece here missing that I couldn't figure out where it was supposed to go originally. So we just tossed it. But at least I was learning how those things work. And I think that led me into, my profession later on, where I was actually working on, electronic equipment and being an electronics technician and being a reactor operator. And just from there, that all came about because I was teaching myself as a kid how mechanically these things work and electronically these things work. Right. So I hate to lose that too for we used to work on cars. You could get into the car engine area and work on the cars, and everything was accessible. You didn't have things hidden behind 5 different other systems in front of it and packed in there so tight that you couldn't get to anything. We work on cars all the time that way. We figure out how they work that way. Mm-hmm. And I think it's too daunting now because of the complexities that the people who make these products are putting into it to try to make it do more things, of the planned obsolescence that's in some of this stuff, and just in the wanting to protect themselves. All these combination of things is making it to where that mentality is going away from our society. That's my fear. Now, I sound like an old man, get off my lawn, but that's what I see, so that's kind of the thing I'm worried about, is if we don't do something soon about these, fighting back against this concept that you don't really own your products and you can do this stuff on it. I think we're going to lose out on a lot of that going forward.
Right. Yeah. I see what you're saying, because I was one of the guys who also grew up, in the late 80s, early 90s, be able to take things apart and put it together. Granted, I didn't do TVs because, when I was growing up, TVs were like, I don't know, like, it was harder to take. There was many fixable parts in the TVs of my era, but like when it came to computers, electronics, tape recorders, you could take these apart. They had screws and stuff into it. I could take this thing apart and figure it out. Like I could take this, I could figure out how to build it and put a desktop together and put it together. Even laptops, they had daughter cards that could go together with cables. Is something you could take on. But like what we're going into is these day and age is like laptop manufacturers, like the pentalope screwdriver of Apple, like where they designed a different screw so you couldn't take your Mac apart, or we're going to glue this thing together on the guise of trying to make this thing waterproof. Like, what makes it waterproof now? We're sealing the battery. The battery is a part that's going to wear down. So you're sealing it behind glue and self-destructive screws. So if anyone try to get in there to take this battery out and replace it, they really can't put it back together again. And then you're going to stow something with the firmware. So if once it detects a new different battery, it just shuts itself off. And you're right. We're losing these good paying jobs of repair technicians because people buy expensive products and wants them repaired to get things, or get them to get one more season out of it, get something to fixed out of it, or just get something like getting data off it. And there is a whole crop of, people who are mechanically inclined that they're not getting, they won't be able to get that pull to go into that type of field, and they'll end up getting a different job. There's probably some kids, that's 16, 18 right now that always wants to work on computers that would be an amazing computer technician, but their house is full of Apple computers that they can't touch, they can't really get into, and then what? That kid goes and starts working on, just takes a basic retail job, just issuing in and out like Apple machines, like, here you go, here's your Apple machine, and used to think that if you just became like a certified like repair person for Apple or for Lenovo, they'll allow you to like get these parts, but not even that. If you even become a certified, in order to stay a certified like reseller of a certified like a repair person of a lot of these companies, you're forced to sell $20,000 worth of equipment to them. Usually, I've just said a number. Could be any number, whatever your contract says. So you're supposed to sell this number about. So if you're supposed to sell this for some number, how are you going to where's your incentive to like repair? So you're not, you need, so you don't hire the 18-year-old kid that can figure out how to repair things. You hire the kid who can sell things. So it's just, and then like, and that's like, and so they're just hawking laptops, and most people who goes to buy a laptop, they're in the market to buy a laptop. So especially a single laptop, so they're not having it, like the sales skill isn't that like high, so they could easily find one and pay in peanuts. They're not be able to get a living wage that way.
And there's another issue that comes along with all of this, that the more and more these companies have control over the products and can stop you from doing certain things to these products, and chips are now available to start recording things. We now have phone devices, we have automobiles, we have lots of different equipment that can have chips in it and do have chips in it to track you that you aren't allowed to turn off. Right? That's a big problem, because now you don't have privacy. You don't, like, if you're driving a car, you know, and the police are chasing you, they can shut your car down. If the chip's in there and it's the right age and everything else, they could do that. OnStar can do that now for a lot of different OnStar vehicles, but that stuff's going to be in every vehicle. I was actually talking to a lawyer yesterday on a specific problem that I have, and on his wall, I was looking at some details for another case of some sort, and it had listed on there, here are the GPS stops that this car made at a certain time. So this is all coming up in all of this to be used in courts for forcing things and spying on you and having all that information. Everybody's worried about getting a tracker put into them for a vaccine. They don't need to do that. We have everything. They have everything they could possibly want, and you're not allowed to turn it off. You're not allowed to mask it. You're not allowed to fight it. All right. So that's another issue I think needs to be brought up in this, is that we're losing a lot of our rights, our private property rights. We're losing our privacy rights. Everything, all this stuff is happening because we want ease of use and keeping things out of our heads that we don't have to worry about. We just take it back to the store, they fix it.
Right. Yeah. The ease of use, it just connects. It just works. It's auto magically. Well, that auto magic comes with a cost, and a lot of people are getting ready to like experience this too, which here in a few years, like because of the whole, everyone's talking about Wi-Fi 6 version 6 and AX was like, oh yeah, it's going to be really cool. But that IoT turd device that you bought that's sitting over there, that's on like old AC or some old Ed network, it's going to slip. It's going to slow all your networks down anyways. Good luck. You won't even notice your speed. Why? Because you got some old turd IoT device on there, that some crappy IoT turd that the startup went to poop last year, and now you can't get updates. Now it's just a big security vulnerability on your network. Congrats. But it's running Linux, and technically it should be able to update, but you can't get inside of it because they don't want you inside of it to fix it or do anything with it, because it's just a pocket full of sensors. Sorry, that's the jaded. IoT stands for Internet of Things, or as they're properly called, Internet of Targets. Okay, because that's all there are, just big targets on the network.
Yeah, you get your refrigerators now. Your stoves have stuff in it, the Wi-Fi connection, and they can order. You can have your refrigerator detect that you're out of certain product and just dial Amazon and have it delivered, through the market system. I mean, that's all convenience, and it's cool, but it's not. There's issues that are involved in that, in order for that to happen. So those are the things. The problem I have, though, is I think we ought to talk about is how do we fix it? How do we get to a point, or do we, to get that right back? And I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that, on how we kind of resolve this issue that we've detailed. I think what the issue is fairly well, but what's the solution?
Well, personally, I hate the idea of like this whole like legislation thing, but it's more of like, I like the idea of the right repair bills being written on a way that it gives us our freedom to repair back. I think calling it right to repair does put off a lot of people who are like right leaning or in the liberty space. Was like, you don't technically have a right to repair it. It's a company's product. It's like, okay, again, it's more of like a privilege to repair, but or like you have the ability or you are allowed to repair this thing. But that sounds awful on a t-shirt. Okay. I really can't put that on a sign. It just to get that jingoistic thing to be able to chant anywhere. Okay. So we get that. We understand that, it's not going to be up there with the 10 Commandments and the Bill of Rights. And thou should have the right to repair their 68 El Camino that's parked in their car in the driveway. Sorry, 78. It's.
But should we not though? I mean, should we be able to say if you're conferring ownership of a product or a piece of property from one person to another, you can't send attachments or retainers along with that. If you're giving ownership over, you have to completely give ownership over. Do we want to have that mindset in our rights as human beings? And we have a right to property. If we have a right to property, we should have a right to full ownership of the property, right?
Yeah.
We shouldn't be able. They shouldn't be able to have conditions based off of that ownership. Otherwise, that's not ownership. That's leasing. That's renting. That's not technically ownership. So, is it a mindset change to go down that path and say this is a right that we should be protecting and for the people, or is it something we just want to codify in the law, in the legal system, in the tort system, to protect that right, as it were?
Yeah, I think the idea of like protecting that right, just saying that when you own a piece of property, you actually own it. Because if it's stated that you were actually leasing it, basically leasing it, then you also owed something in return for this lease. Like if I'm leasing it to you, then you have to give something else. And when does this lease expire? Because a contract without an expiration date is an invalid contract. It must have an end date. Can't be indefinite. Indefinite contracts get thrown out all the time. So that's why your NDAs has a set end date, or your non-competes have end dates. You're like, well, nope, you're leaving this company, you can't poach for the next infinity. Nope. Doesn't work. They don't work like that. Those get thrown out. But if you say you can't poach, you can go talk, can't pull any from your former company for 1 year, 2 years, depending on what year it is. Those are valid contracts. And I think something like that is like, it needs to be able to be protected, because you're right. Yeah. If I actually own, it's like if I sold my house and then I make sure they signed the EULA, like, yes, you get the house, but the house stays blue. What? Yep. Sorry. Right there in EULA, house stays blue.
Or more appropriate, I'm selling you the house. The house is yours, but I have the right to have this camera in the bedroom, monitoring your activity.
This house is yours.
That's kind of what we're doing, isn't it? I mean,
Yep. And if anything breaks, you must use my repair company. But it's my house. Yeah. It is your house. But anything breaks in here, like that galvanized piping that's 70 years old, it's going to start busting here shortly. We have to use my company, my plumbing company, to fix it.
Yeah, it's your house, but technically my name is still on the front of it. It's your house, though. My name's on it, though. But it's yours. And if anything goes wrong in there, you have to pay me to make it better, because my name's on it. It's really important that I'm the one who deals with it. So yeah. Like, that garage door that you could easily fix with buying a new pulley. No, you have to come to me, and I have to go buy a specific garage door pulley to fix that.
I want to keep people to have the experience.
Because my name's on the house, and it's about the experience of people seeing my name on the house, being my houses are good houses.
I think Rhinehold, I think you're right. It's the ability to stop that. The idea that, like, one thing is like when Apple also prevents a company to have exclusive rights to a chip. That where it gets murky, and I get that. You could signing exclusivity contracts with chip manufacturers, so you cannot sell a different chip to other people, so you can't get things fixed. I don't know how we deal with that, which is egregious. It's terrible. It's awful. But that's an exclusive contract. I hate it. And I don't think. But it's a contract, and I don't know really like that. That also gets in the murky area there. Right. This is a.
Here's the thing, though. So a lot of people get into this whole area of space in the anarchist movement and in the libertarian movements, where contracts, right? We have contracts and covenants, and we can agree to certain things. But at some point, you have to come to the realization that you can't sign away your rights. There's certain inalienable rights that you have that you cannot just sign away. If one of those rights is private property and property ownership, then you can't, you can't put conditions on the transfer of property, right? So I think that's where a lot of thinking in my head comes from, is that we should be looking at that aspect in trying to think of a way to resolve these issues, as opposed to we just need more government regulation to say whether this is good or bad, right? I mean, right now we've got government is making things worse in all of these spaces, right? Because the government's now saying, okay, we can take that information that you've got that you're able to spy on these people. We're going to take that now, and you need to keep that in place in order for you to get the FTC license for your phone to make phones. Which the fact that the government can limit entry into the market by limiting who can make phones and who can't, right? On top of that, they're putting constrictions on that and requirements that they do certain things, which then gets them away from certain legal aspects, right? So now they're spying on us. They don't have to worry about it, and they can control everything. So do we want more government regulation fighting against that to try and balance that out? Or do we go to a more base mindset of saying that ownership is an inalienable right that has to be protected? Yeah, I think you get better thought processes with that than you do. Like you have a right to life too, and your right to your own personal body. Therefore, you can't sign away your right, as in an indentured slavery type of thing. So those things aren't possible. You can't do that because that's your inalienable right, and it's something we hold very dear. I think we can move that into this concept and have that be part of it, as opposed to, like I said, just a bunch of different new government regulations, which is going to be worse. Yeah. It's not going to fix it. It never does.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Never fix it. Yeah. And before someone goes like, but Rhinehold, can't you just vote with your dollars and just use the market to do this?
Yeah, you can. How's that working?
Well, you see, the government has also restricted it.
The whole problem with all this, and this is the thing that gets me, is that there are so many people who are against socialism and communism because, and I agree with them, we shouldn't do any of that stuff, but they're against it because it goes against the basic notion of human nature, right? Because people want to do their own thing. They don't want to be told what to do. Human nature just says this isn't going to work. There's always going to be outliers. It's the same in this space, right? In the libertarian space, you have to understand human nature in order to see how this stuff is going to work and not work. And if human nature is, we're not going to, we don't want full ownership of this, or we want somebody to take care of us or protect us, trying to implement something that violates or goes against that isn't going to work, right? So we have to figure out how this works around the idea of how humans actually think and feel. Now, society will change, which changes all of that as we move forward. And we want to see those changes progress in a way that make the best sense for a individual liberty and an enlightenment side of things. But unless people are moving that direction and changing human nature in a societal means, it's going to chafe against the concepts that they're trying to operate within. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes. And I'm kind of glad I actually had this conversation with you, because like I said, this thing was like a murky thing that I kept like battling with myself with, and I enjoy like the idea, like it's the, I gotta put this like the, because I could easily like talk and tell everyone like my rationale is like why like communism and social is like it is like is wrong and like bad and upsetting, and why it won't work. Like I can give these kind of like concrete reasons why, not because like it's just some big bad. I just show you like I dislike it for this reason, but when it came to like to repair, I'm just like stuck. Like I know this is wrong, but I can't get the words out. I just wanted to be able to like bring up a topic, discuss it openly, and just be able to like to take this ugly, muddy subject, no judgment. Let's talk, let's battle it out, and let's try and battle solutions. And I think, like Rhinehold, you came up with the best one. Yes, the government steps in to protect this right of ownership. You know, like if you can't sign this indefinite contract, you can't manipulate this thing. If I'm actually owning the product, I own the product. And if you want to sign this leasing mentality, then you have to, you know, there's got to be some give and take with that. Like, cool, I can't get this part, then you must always supply me with this part indefinitely.
Right. And there's been things like that. Like you used to buy you buy cable service, right? You get cable service, you'd rent the box from them. It was never yours. You didn't own it. So there was no conference of ownership of that box. So yeah, they could come in and say, you know, you can't do this on it or you can't do that on it. But if it broke down, they had to come fix it for free. They couldn't charge you for it, right? So because it's their box, not your box. So if we keep that mindset to say, if you own it, it's yours completely out. No, you can't have ties back to it, or you can rent and lease, and then you can have that. You're not getting ownership of it anymore. We have to kind of make that line in the sand judgment on these things in order to move forward. I think in the world that we're living in, as complex as it's starting to get, right? So that's just how I see things, and I could be completely wrong, and I'm sure a lot of people will tell me that I'm wrong. But that's just kind of how I view it. So,
yeah, they're wrong. Because like also, so like the difference between software as a service, some people talk about like that, is that you're paying the subscription fee, you're paying them, but you're also constantly getting updates and bug fixes from them. Now, I may hate software as a service, you know, because I like to own my software, but at least with like I pay for some SaaS stuff? Sure do. I sure do. Okay, you know, and actually, Netflix is technically a SaaS. It's entertainment as a service, okay? Right? I'm paying to be entertained every month, and I push a button, I get entertained. You know, do I try to pull away from that method and buy? Well, we go back into like the idea, like, you know, like, do I actually own like a? Yeah, that it gets in a. I don't know. Man, I don't want to bring this up because I want to be here for another hour. But I was going to talk about DVDs and movies and music and actually ownership of that.
Ooh, yeah, that's a whole other
that's a different episode. That's a different episode. That's the ownership episode. This is right to repair still.
Let's Napster it. Let's go.
We'll put that one on the back. If you guys want to have that message, you know, in this Bug Spangle, tell them like, yeah, let's do an episode on that one.
Will Lars be available to be a part of it?
Oh man,
just bug him for the Napster episode. We'll know what we're talking about.
Do the Napster episode. Oh man, it's just oof. But anyways, we're yeah. But it's like, oh man, like I said, we'll be here for another hour if we talk about that thing. All right, so I think to me, I think we've hashed it out. Like we defined what it was. Talked about the dystopian future to the aspect of this thing kept going and what we could progress to, and I think Rhinehold will walk us through and a great idea for a solution to this thing. I'm content at where we are.
Yeah. I think for an hour discussion of a complex societal issue that really needs about years and years of study and figuring out the intricacies and what's involved. Yeah, I think in an hour we did a pretty good job of summarizing the issue and the solution, the possible solution. Yeah. But there's obviously going to be other people with different solutions in mind and things that they might want to bring up. So let us know what those are. Have a conversation about it. We love to have the conversations.
Yep. Vincent, do you want anything you want to wrap up or say before we end the episode?
Mostly that hopefully that we can get past this disposable aspect of society as of right now, because it feels like a lot of the people that don't want to invest in that disposable society feel kind of out of sorts. Like even where I work, I know people at my job that are literally 5-10 years younger than me who don't know anything about how to fix simple computer issues. It's like, how do I fix how big my screen is? Like, just do this. And they're like, oh, I didn't know that. And it's like, you've had computers since you were 5 years old. Like, you were born after 9/11. How do you not know any of this? And it's one of those things of being somebody who knows how to troubleshoot and wants to troubleshoot and knows how to fix things. So that way I don't have to get something new every time. It becomes one of those things that when you see all these other people that would just rather throw it away and then get something new, it's frustrating. And the fact that a large portion of our society is now dedicated to that kind of approach, and how quickly people forget about a lot of things, and how things don't get talked about anymore because the next big thing showed up and we're going to talk about that instead. It's just kind of, it feels like it's all connected to just how our society is in general. But I feel like that's a completely different.
All right. I'm going to answer a comment. Elastic Giraffe just said, isn't Windows 11 getting rid of Control-Alt-Delete to access the Task Manager? First off, you shouldn't use Control-Alt-Delete to access the Task Manager. Control-Shift-Escape, sir, or madam. I'm sorry if I assumed your gender, Elastic Giraffe.
Giraffe.
Yeah, Giraffe. Just Control-Shift-Escape. You're welcome. Rhinehold, do you want to bring anything up? You want to wrap anything up? Keyboard shortcut.
I think we're good on everything. I do want to, like I said, we talked a little bit more about the Napster issue, and I think there's a whole other conversation I think would love to get into on whether you own. So you own something, right? But you can't make copies of, you know, a refrigerator. You can't just make copies of a refrigerator and go give them to people, right? So that's kind of that mindset. If we start thinking about into the intellectual property and Napster issue and everything else we want to talk about, I am all for having that conversation. Again, I don't think that's one we can have now because we don't have the time and we don't want to torture everybody with a 4-hour podcast, which I know we can do because we have done it. Several times, especially
about IP and how it affects all across the world. On top of that,
so yeah, let's put a pin in that conversation, and hopefully we've got a good basis to go off of from this that we can slide into some of these other conversations in a much more detailed manner.
That's fine. Yeah. I'd like to do, maybe we should do that episode that just open up to the whole wall network. Let people tag in, tag out. 6-hour show. People just tagging in, tagging out. Like I'm tagging Toady and I'm out.
we did a election episode like that, didn't we? And a bunch of people come in. It was like 6 hours long, but and I don't think we're going to do that again anytime soon. It would be cool. I would be all for it, but the powers that be, you know. Have a life now, so
all right. So like I'm going to lead you guys with some other resources if you find like you really are into and want to learn more about right to repair or the other different things that we probably didn't talk about, or because it may affect or if it affects your industry that you're in, get out, make some noise about it. You see anything going around it, join some of the circuits, because like if you want to know more information about even companies that go for it, Louis Rossman on Louis Rossman Group is the famous guy who builds a lot of teaches people how to fix their Apple products because Spangle keeps buying them and people keep breaking them. Don't know why. So you can go over there. He talks about a lot of things about right to repair. He is not a libertarian, but he just cares about right to repair, and I respect him for that. You know, so also a couple of businesses that you may want to like partake in if you're looking, like iFixit. I was great. I buy a lot of different iFixit parts. I like to buy electronics and check out how iFixit rates them on their fixability scale and on how to actually fix this thing. Is it actually repairable? iFixit is my place, that is my go-to place to find that information out. Like, is this thing repairable, or even to get tools to fix certain things? You know, when I took this MacBook over here on the side and had to refix its entire keyboard, iFixit is where I went to get the tools, the parts, everything. I'm like, they're not sponsoring. This is not a sponsoring ad. This is just, I'm just good place resources. Also, laptop company, if you want something that supports right to repair, System 76. There, it's a Colorado Linux manufacturer. They will build you a laptop or a desktop that is designed to be repaired, refixed, and to be tinkered with. If you open it up the laptop and add more RAM or switch the OS or do anything else inside of it, it then voids your warranty. System 76 wants you to get inside. If you want to open it up, add more RAM to it because you only bought 8 gigs from them and you wanted to throw your 64 in yourself, that's perfectly fine. They're happy with that. They're happy for you to do that. That's So Yeah, just wanted to give people resources out there so they can try to get themselves away from that. Oh man, I'm going to talk about Napster, then get into Steam games. Like, do you really own your Steam games? Okay.
Oh god.
But before we do all that, I wanted also to thank everyone to listening to the Chris Spangle Show. You could listen to any other podcast in the world, but you decided to listen to this one, and that I want to say thank you. So have a good day, everybody. Thanks for listening. All right, that's the episode. I think producer Spangle has stepped away. He is either coughing, hasn't ended it. Do we just sit here, just keep recording? I don't hear Rhinehold's audio anymore.
That's because I muted it. No, we should probably just keep talking for a little bit until he decides to come along and end it, so we can have something to tag on for Patreon people.
Like this, because usually, all right. So
it was you get it without ads, then that was a big deal. Now we don't do that.
Yeah. So so everybody, who's listening or still listening to the live show, like, yes, when we would end the show, we would go to the green room and they would keep going. Okay.
Sometimes that happens. Sometimes we would like a half an hour later.
Yeah, we keep going and just keep talking.
Especially if we have a good guest and we want to keep talking with them. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Oh, today we just have Vincent, so it's not as big a deal. But...
Yeah, I know. It's no big deal.
I hate myself.
It's fine. But I'm sure also people who are like users on Twitch has probably seen us start doing our gaming stream. I started gaming streaming back this week. I'm not gonna. The room is a mess right now because I got out of the gym and undressed right here, so there's a lot of stank draws for me going to hot yoga and I'm working out. But I have finally set up the whole room so I can easily walk in here, hit stream. The gaming server is over here. The Minecraft server is almost hooked up on the sucker. I got my Cloudflare account. It's a low balancer, so we can play Minecraft on this thing. We started playing Borderlands, the pre-sequel this week was on Tuesday night. So like, if we could probably get Vince Rhinehold to download some Borderlands and play with us. I'm not going. I want to go. It's going to take me a lot to go back to Paladins. I'm going to be very realistic. Yeah. I miss it sometimes, and that new Corvus skin is really nice.
But then you remember the characters that are in the game, and it's like, I just don't want to play anymore. Because Yaggroth exists, and you're just like, I'm done.
But But I got the space set up. I don't have like the table set up, so we can sit there at the bottom and get everything up, and then basically sit here and like have like the big gaming stream room is like there's a big push for me. Like I want to go back into streaming, and that's another reason why I started to do like some of these Wednesdays like episodes back over is for the simple fact that I want to get back my chops back up to just reading a skull just comment on Twitch. No. I don't sell stank droves. Okay. Don't sell those.
And you sell bathwater?
Oh yeah. I do sell Gamer Bro bathwater. Okay. All right.
See now gaming streams, that stuff, that's where I would thrive.
Yeah.
I prefer gaming streams.
I kind of want to I want to create some more culture content. I finally got my sister and my brother tagged to come in. I want to do a whole episode coming up talking about like some of their community efforts that they've done here in the city of Indianapolis. And I really want to bring them on and talk about that because like I think one is like when we tell people to help the community to go out in the public, like what does the heck does that mean? Now, do I agree of everything that my sister has done? Heck no. I think the gun buyback program was a waste of time and waste of money. But she felt good about doing it, and she got the community to come together and talk and get people there and get people out there and trying to help clean up the east side of Indianapolis. More power to you. I'm not going to sit there and criticize and go poo-poo, you shouldn't do this thing because I'm not the one out there doing it. You do that. I support you. Go. Tell me what I need to help you, And I wanted to go like how it all started, how you got into that program. So that's going to be up and coming episode. It's going to be fun.
I would be really down to do an episode about parasocial relationships, especially now with how the digital world is now, especially how a lot of people like latch on to streamers and like assume that like they're their friends because they're watching the stream all the time. and it's doing those things of like, well, I paid you money, so do the thing I said to you to do. And if you don't do it this way, I'm going to harass you and try to go to your house for no reason.
Oof.
Or like why there's a lot of, that's why the people like the VTubers and stuff don't have to really try extra hard to hide their identities, because people will dox them and try to leak their identities out because they're not the people they think they are. It can even go into like the idol culture in Japan and how the idol culture is the most disgusting parasocial relationship I've ever seen. Did you know in Japan, if your favorite idol graduates, you get time off work to grieve?
Yeah, okay, all right, fine. All right. So there is actually a lot here. I'm just confused.
Because in Japan, there's a whole idol culture, which is basically like they're pop stars, but it's like corporately built. So they have like 20 girls in this group, and once you get too old, they make you graduate, i.e., leave the group. Mm-hmm. And if your favorite idol graduates, you get bereavement leave from work.
All right, so like
it is K-pop. I mean, you gotta understand.
J-pop.
Oh, different. You're talking about J-pop instead of K-pop.
Yeah, right. K-pop. It's basically the same thing, but their culture isn't as obsessed with the idols.
So the Japanese group that I've been following, that I've been posting on the Discord, like you say, you might lose some of them. That stinks.
Oh no, they're much more smaller. If it's a bigger corporation, like Girls' Generation or something, like when they get to like a certain age, they graduate. They graduate and they leave so they can bring a younger girl in to start building her up through the ranks.
Okay, all right.
And like it's a thing that happens a lot in the idol groups, and that actually happened. Literally, HoloLive had a VTuber graduate because they didn't want that VTuber to. That they wanted to retire that VTuber. So they graduated.
Man, now I wish I sink money buying a new rifle.
Boy bands and not men bands, right? So there's a reason why they graduate them out. So.
Yeah, like the idol culture is crazy, and then the K-pop, like the K-pop culture is a completely different monster of like men who were able to they were able to find the location of one of the K-pop singers by looking at a picture that she took and used the reflection of her eye to geographically locate where she was at so he could find where she was. Yes, that is a real thing that happened.
That's only in TV shows.
You say that. That's not talking about when somebody tried to give a K-pop singer that was in the rival band a drink that had super glue in it to seal their mouth shut.
Sounds like mob.
Dude, parasocial relationships with a lot of certain things are insane. And you don't think there's a lot to talk about, but there's a lot to talk about.
I don't talk like questions. It's just like, but what?
Yeah, like stand, like when in our culture we call them stands. They pick their bias of the one person they like, and if you go against the person they like, they're like, well, I hope you die in a fire. They're the first to jump on like there are so many like literally band warfare of the fans of different bands, and for K-pop fans, it's like it's a whole thing. It's a mess.
Yeah. College Applause says it's almost as fun as the world's greatest capture the flag game with Shia LaBeouf. Yeah,
that is true.
He will not divide us. The capture the flag game, that was amazing. That united the internet. It stinks that he stopped it, but that united people together. Like he thought it wasn't, but that was people were working together on the common cause. It was almost like a ARG. Which we should probably talk about ARGs one time also too.
That would be fun. I like ARGs.
No, you were into ARGs.
I like ARGs.
That makes sense though. It makes sense. Yeah, you Yeah, it makes sense.
I don't-
ARGs.
I like following it after it happens, so they tell me all the lore parts of it because I love lore. And it's like, we completed the ARG. Here's the 4-hour video about what happened in the ARG, and it's like, I'm gonna be listening to this at work.
Let's see. The VTuber audience is probably a bunch of 4chan users and anonymous. They know how to scratch for information.
Some of them do.
Yeah, most people like who are in anonymous have like that the original anonymous group, if it was a group, or the people of that, or have been busted or in jail. And thanks to Occupy Wall Street, most of them have been busted. That's what happens when you have someone get into the chat room with bad OPSEC, and then that person starts ratting out people. So, damn.
Yeah, I'll post that link, that thing in the Discord.
Yep, yeah. Halo did one. Gravity Falls did an ARG though for the
Defined Bill.
Yep. Yeah. I only recently started to get into like ARGs because like someone was like asking me like, "Hey, can I help you build one?" I'm like, "Sounds fun." I don't know, forgot the time, and then like even though I keep watching, they are very interesting. Yeah, I just don't know if I'm like smart enough to get a lot of these clues, but the idea they have to work together to get everything.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of interesting ones, a lot of weird ideas. Then there's the ARG that's like that Game Theory did for Omega Mart, which is literally a physical location in Nevada. That is such a massive ARG that they took the ARG aspect of it and then turned it into aspects that are inside the store. Like there's like a dimension to another world inside one of the refrigerators in the store. Yeah, it's insane.
Oh my god! All right, yeah. So may have to do an ARG episode.
And since we're not, just pointing out that there's a show coming out.
The Wheel.
Should check out. Yeah,
it's called The Wheel.
Wheel of Time. So. Just saying,
is it
coming
a
out November
reboot?
19th. Oh, it's not a reboot. It's a new TV series based off of probably the number 2 selling fantasy series of all time by Robert Jordan, and 14 books, 4.4 million words, 2,800 named characters, 90 point of views. They're going to try and compress all that into 8 seasons.
What?
It starts November 19th. I've been reading those books since they first came out in 1990. Was the first issue of the first book, and I've been reading them since like mid 90s.
Yeah. So it's older than me.
I didn't get into the Wheel of Time. I'm not that. I didn't get into that. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it's probably one of the best written, most expansive story. It's 14 books, 4.4 million words, one story. It's not like a story and then they come back 3 years later, this happens in the next book. No, this is one long story.
It's 15 books, Rhinehold.
There's a prequel that's not necessary for the story. It's basically New Spring is a story that was written after the 5th book to kind of show the background of one of the characters. So it was like the fill in the plot before this happened. Yeah,
the fill in the plot holes. Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's not a necessary thing to watch, to read, but the journey is incredible. So
yeah, well, I went from YA novels like Animorphs, and then when I stopped reading all the Animorph series, I started reading technical Cisco books. And I got very annoyed when I had English class. Like, you need to read this for class. And I was just like, but I wanted to read this thick technical manual on routers. It was that kid though. Yeah, I did finish. I did read Johnny Got His Gun. I didn't want to at first, but my English teacher showed me Metallica 1, and he's like, "Well, if you really want to know what happens, you got to read this book." But yes, I will put it on the ye old watch list for the Amazon thing.
You see, I went from like reading normal books, and then I became a weeb. So I started reading manga instead. So
it's manga.
And Electric Draft says that Sanderson wrote the book on magic systems. Might disagree a little bit. Robert Jordan wrote the book on magic systems. Brandon Sanderson was a huge fan of that system. And when he was pegged to finish the series, because Robert Jordan passed away after the 11th book, they brought in Brandon Sanderson, who was the reason he got into writing was because of the Wheel of Time books. Right. He started reading them when he was a teenager. He became a fantasy author himself and was doing very well. And then Robert Jordan's wife called him and said, "Hey, would you finish this last book for us?" Which turned into 3 books because it was so huge.
My God, what are you talking about, you nerds?
Waiting for you to end the stream.
Well,
I was like, we're just going to keep talking for a while.
I was cleaning my carpets. As you can hear, I've got COVID. I literally do. But I'm all good now. So thank you to Harry. This was Harry's scheduled Saturday per his contract anyways. So it was very interesting. So
what you heard of it when you bailed on it?
Yeah, I listened to like the first half, and then like having a toddler on apartment carpet is not good. So we have a monthly carpet cleaning when she's away. So it looks so nice. I could roll around in it. But, so I didn't hear the last 20 minutes.
That's fine.
I just kept like listening in, waiting for you guys, to wrap it up, and then I was like, I wonder if they're waiting for me to wrap it up. So
yes.
we wrap up and we keep talking.
Hour
I said, I was thinking I said, well, we could keep talking. We could maybe put some of this into the Patreon episode or something. I don't know.
I'll go listen back. So, all right. Well, thank you guys for hosting.
It's fine.
No worries.
Thank you for listening, even though apparently carpet cleaning is more important to you.
It is.
Just wait till you own the carpet, okay? Right?
Yeah.
It is the worst.
So we don't have carpet. We have hardwood floors. My wife won't let us have carpets because animals.
There's a difference between Gen X and Boomer. Boomer's going to put the linoleum indoor carpet over hardwood.
How many houses I went into and pulled up linoleum and carpet, and there's just beautiful hardwood, and I'm just like, oh man.
So all right. So like the other house I have, which I thought about turning into like a studio to record out of, this bathroom, there's like linoleum there, and I was like, oh, this used to be a bedroom, they turned into a bathroom. I'm sure underneath this linoleum is hardwood. So when I ripped up the linoleum, you know what I saw? Subfloor. They cut the hardwood floor out and exposed like a crappy plywood subfloor and the linoleum on top of that. I was like, that is worse. That is worse. My God, I was like, why would you do that? Granted, it made it level, but why? They just left it. Well, it's a bathroom. Then leave the hardwood. Just leave it. Seal it. Nope. Cut it out. Which worse is they put, all right, so like the walls, right? So it's drywall, right? Because it's a freaking bedroom. They put that stupid knotty pine over the drywall. The whole room would have been wood on wood on wood on wood.
Mm-hmm.
But nope, linoleum. And it's like ugly peel. It's not peel and stick tiles. It's like the roll out stuff. It's awful. Just
The new stuff now is you just roll it and let it set. You don't even glue it.
Yeah,
that's
3 times. Yeah, I got that new wood in my house though.
The new wood.
It's not all the way wood. It's more plasticky and stuff like that. So it's nigh indestructible. It's more sealed. A lot of people are like, oh, but it's not real wood. I'm like, I don't need it to be real wood. I'm just walking over it. I'm walking on top of it. I want something that I can easily clean and nigh indestructible. And you know what? I have that. It's so awful. Like I dropped a knife and I was like, oh my God, but it's plastic, just kind of like a cutting board, and that would have been hardwood. My knife would have went in that piece of wood and have been that scratch there for forever and eternity.
What gives it its character, though? I mean, I did redo the hardwood floors in my places when I sold my last house, and it was just like, yeah, there's imperfections in the floor, but it's character, and it brings out some different darkness in the tone and the stain, and it's kind of cool as long as it's not like a big ugly blood splotch or something, you know.
I don't want
try to cover up.
I don't want character. I want nigh indestructibility. Okay. All right. I think I'm gonna get off here. Let's see. Gunther just got out of swim class, and they should be on the way home. So I'm gonna get 10 minutes back on my day without the girls at the house and just relax and take it all quiet.
I've got a master brake cylinder I have to replace now, so that's my afternoon as soon as I'm done here.
Ouch! I'm sorry.
We said goodbye.
Okay, well, thanks for listening, everybody.
We did that. We did that. We did that.
We
literally did that an hour ago.
Thanks to everyone for listening to the Chris Spangle show.
You weren't listening. We did that literally a half an hour ago, and we were waiting for you to stop it, and you didn't stop it.
So he just kept talking.
You guys should have just left it running.
Just everybody leave the studio. Just leave the blue screen on the background.
Leave it there. Blue screen. No, then the blue screen of death memes would have came out.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again on Wednesday.